Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to MLP month. Everybody seemed to really like my Goosebump idea, and I thank you for that, but today we're going to hit something a little more mainstream. I mentioned in an earlier episode that orange got kind of a bad rap for being the worst color. While it's still kind of on the lower tiers, there are a lot of really great things we can do with orange now, especially one I'm about to show you today. While orange itself didn't receive much love, nobody can deny that this guy right here was one of the best cards ever. He already hits the field at 4, he's got Stubborn, and he flips an additional card during face-offs, which is a stackable effect. This guy is so awesome that today we're going to dedicate an entire deck to him. I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, my deck list for Big Mac Supersize Me. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. For those that are just here to net deck the deck list, and here it is, please enjoy. All I ask is that you leave me a like on your way out. For the rest of us, we should notice that this is a pretty conventional deck list. There's nothing really out of the ordinary here, so let's just get straight to the cards. First, let's talk about our main, because we haven't really talked about her yet. Honestly, this Rainbow Dash doesn't have a whole lot of synergy with the deck, but it is a very easy to flip Rainbow Dash. We're more running her because she's very good support for our Big Mac. We can flip her very quickly, and then because she has Swift, we can just pay 1 to move 3 power onto one of the problems to help Big Mac out during face-offs. And that's about it. This limitation is upon me because I am using a different main character for every single deck that I review this month. But if I were going to run this deck seriously, then I would probably use the new Applejack because the new Applejack is awesome. However, in the meantime, this is a very good replacement. Okay, so we've already talked about this guy, but he's worth talking about again. He's already 4 power. He has Stubborn, so exhausting him doesn't really matter. And we can totally use him to flip additional cards during the face-off. Our main strategy is going to involve getting lots of this guy out and then moving all of them onto a problem and being invincible. Red Gala unlocks Big Mac and what else matters. Earth Pointing Royal Guard is there to control our opponent's hand, make sure they're not doing anything to counter our Big Mac strategy, get rid of those Holly Dashes, get rid of those Rarity Truly Outrageouses. Full steam ahead because 4 for 4, why would you not? And to round up our orange friends, we're running 2 Element of Honesty. Its effect isn't quite as good as the others because of how situational it is and because of how not that used Troublemakers are right now, except maybe for villains. But during playtesting, its effect did come in handy a few times, like getting rid of a Chrysalis, or getting rid of a Yellow Parish Sprite, or getting rid of an Ahui Zodal. The main reason we're running it at 2, though, is because of Yellow Parish Sprite early game. If Yellow Parish Sprite hits the field early game, and we end up having to discard this card, then guess what? It just comes into play for free. Who cares? It's a very real possibility, which gives your opponent something very, very difficult to deal with early in the game. We're running Cerulean Skies. I normally hate 1-power ponies because they're kind of useless on the field, they're kind of useless when you flip them for face-off, so on and so forth, but he gets kind of a pass because he makes it very easy to flip our main. Plus, him having Swift does make him one of the better 1-power ponies because you're still only paying for the amount of power that you're moving. You're paying 1 point to move 1 power onto a problem. That's kind of cool, I guess. As with most decks, we're running 3 Holly Dash because 3 Holly Dash I still feel is one of the best blue cards in the game. Pay 2, you not only get 4 power, but you get to move one of your very, very important friends, in this case Big Mac, for free, and that's just fantastic. In this case, if you pay the 2 to move, you can move Holly Dash and Big Mac together, and then during face-offs you can flip 2 cards instead of 1. That's just fantastic on its own. For 2 action points, yes. Yes. Cloud Chaser, of course, and it's extra awesome here because she is a Pegasus. I've always really liked Bulk Biceps. I think he's pretty cool and absolutely hilarious. Plus, he more than pays for his own power. You're only paying 3 for a 4 power, and it's a Pegasus. Color requirement is a little bit high, but you can move him just by exhausting him, which saves you a lot on action points and is actually pretty cool. My one problem with him is that does kind of make him useless for the turn, but you can use it in a lot of very clutch situations, like when you feel like your opponent is getting ready to drop a villain card or something. Also, you don't have to use his effect. You can just pay the 2 to move him normally, and that's still 4 power. We tech in 2 here because we are all about winning face-offs. And finally, we're running 2 copies of Rainbow Dash Winged Wonder. I love this card. It's like Holly Dash on steroids, but it only works once, which is why it's not as good as Holly Dash. Huh. During playtesting against the purple-yellow, I actually had this really hilarious moment where I had 3 Big Macs in play, and I played this Rainbow Dash and moved all 3 Big Macs to that problem and ended up sweeping for game, and it was awesome! That kind of thing probably isn't going to happen very often for you, but still, the fact that you can move up to 3 friends to this card's problem is pretty ridiculous. On to events, we run 3 Gotta Go Fast. Gotta get them Big Macs out there. Gotta get them Big Macs out there fast. This is what makes them Big Macs fast food, am I right, guys? Fast food. Anybody. Moving on. Fears Must Be Faced is good for the exact same reason. During the Troublemaker phase, you can choose 2 of your characters from home and move them to different problems. The great thing is, you don't actually have to be dealing with any Troublemakers at the time. It's just during the Troublemaker phase, you can use this card. You'd be surprised how many double face-offs this card can help you achieve. Plum Tuckered Out is still the best orange event out there. As soon as your opponent plays a character or moves a character, it gets exhausted, which stalls your opponent out for a turn. Oh, well, I'll just move this main character over here and everything will be hunky-dory because I'm about to solve this problem. No, you're not. You can solve it next turn when that card isn't exhausted. What went wrong is kind of filler here. I could take this out for maybe a couple of Troublemakers. I'd love to maybe tech in some Prince Blue Bloods or something to stall my opponent out early game. But it's still a pretty cool card. It's mainly in here because it has 5 power. 5 power is awesome because we're going to be flipping a lot of cards for the face-off, and we want all of them 5 powers because 5 power is cool. So we pay 1, and during a face-off, we can make our opponent flip a different card after they flip a really good card. And that's kind of good, I guess. If your opponent flips like a Chrysalis or something else with like 5 or 6 power, then you can force them to flip another one, and maybe it won't be as good. But yeah, looking back, I would probably take this out for a Troublemaker if I were going to run another round of playtesting. Vital Stands is broken. Vital Stands is broken. Vital Stands is broken. And you're looking at me like, what are you talking about, Kudo? Vital Stands isn't broken. It's not even that great of a card. Why are you running 3 of them? Vital Stands is, Vital Stands is, Vital Stands is. No, listen to me right now. Vital Stands is broken because it is an orange card. For those who don't know, and for some reason haven't read the card yet, what is wrong with you? What you can do is you can exhaust this card and one of your characters to add that character's power to another character. I'll give you a tiny example of why this is broken. You move Big Mac and Holly Dash to a problem, yeah? And then you use this card to exhaust this and Big Mac and give Holly Dash another 4 power. Now because you're still getting the 4 power from Big Mac because he has Stubborn and Orange effects, then you now have 12 power on a problem that should only have 8 power, and you didn't have to pay anything for it except for the initial 2. As soon as you pay the 2 to put this in play, you can just keep exhausting it for free. We run 3 because if we could get multiple of these out on the field, then we can do really silly stuff, especially with Big Mac because he has Stubborn. Even if we don't use it for Big Mac, it can still be used to move something that normally we wouldn't have the action points to move and give its power towards a problem anyway. For example, if we have Vital Stands in play and Bulk Biceps, we can just exhaust Bulk Biceps and give his 4 power to one of the problems without paying the 2 action points to move him. Smokestack. Element of Honesty. All of these different cards are good because they're with this card in an orange deck. It's just too much power at once. It's so fantastic. So fantastic. I love that this card is the common. We also run 2 Sweet Apple Acres. I guess you could take this card out if you're not really seeing that it's very useful, but I really like it because every single turn you can make your opponent discard a card. If you get 2 of these in play, then your opponent's hand is steadily going down by -2 every turn. It's just sort of a tech card. If you wanted to take it out, you totally could. I just really like running Sweet Apple Acres, so I ran it here, okay? You got a problem with that? Why don't you come see me outside, okay? That's what I thought. Sit back down and watch the rest of the video. People have been getting on my case about only running yellow Sprite, and I really don't understand why. If you get in your opening hand, then you can make some really silly stuff happen, and if you don't, then who cares? It's not that big of a deal. Even if you play it really late into the game, your opponent has to discard a card at random, which could cause them to discard something very valuable, especially because in the late game, your hand is normally very small. Also, if your opponent happens to play their hand out, then that one card they draw at the beginning of their turn is the card they have to get rid of, so they're playing on absolutely nothing and they're not allowed to top deck. People are making arguments for why villains should be in every deck, like Chrysalis, but, honestly, I don't really see very much potential in villains because they get run over so quickly in this metagame. I can understand them in more control-y decks, but honestly, when you're running an aggro deck, especially one as strong as this one, you want to be forcing face-offs and making double face-offs happen. If that villain card is out there stopping you from solving your problem, then no, let's get that out of here, okay? Yellow Sprite is all you need right now in this metagame. That's what I believe if you're running an aggro deck. Save the villains and the other troublemakers for control decks. That's all I'm saying. For problems, we run Sweltering Heat because I kind of like its effect. Chances are you're going to be able to solve this very quickly, and you're going to be able to frighten one of your opponent's friends very quickly. It costs you 1 to frighten, and it costs your opponent 2 to unfrighten, so you're getting ahead of them in action points. Apple Bucking Day because main character +2 plus Swift equals awesome. Pay 1, move 5 power onto a problem. That's not broken. That won't be abused. Bottom of the Well is kinda the same deal, but not as good, obviously. I ran It's a Twister, and it really didn't help me out very much. I forgot to take it out for this build, but whatever. I guess I'll just go over why I put it in the first place. Technically, hypothetically, whatever you want to say, it did have some applications that I saw, like you could use Vittle Stance to exhaust your bulk biceps and then give its power to somebody, and then you could play Gotta Go Fast and move him to a problem, but he would be exhausted, so if you ran something like this, you could do that same thing and then unexhaust him and then play Gotta Go Fast and then move him to a problem. That was kind of my mindset, but it didn't really work out very well. I was going to take this out for something else, but I didn't. If you're going to build this deck competitively, then you might want to take this card out. First player to encounter this problem with an orange character with at least 3 power scores an additional point. Having less than 3 power and an orange pony. Smokestack, Big Mac, Element of Honesty. The 3 bonus is way too easy. And that's about it. Big Mac always has priority in this deck. If you have him and another card in your hand and you're trying to decide which one to play, always figure out a way to play Big Mac. The only exceptions to this rule are if your opponent has some way of dismissing Big Mac when you play him, or if it will put you behind. Otherwise, always play Big Mac. If you don't have Big Mac in play and you have Vittle Stands in play, then always keep somebody at home that you can Vittle Stands with. The ability to give a card's power to a problem without having to pay to move it is just too good. Try to save Plum Tuckered out for when your opponent is about to set up a play, like if making their next move will give them enough power to solve a problem or confront you in a face-off. When you play Earth Pony Royal Guard, always look for friends that will cause you problems. Always get rid of Rarity Truly Outrageous. Always get rid of Holidash. Always get rid of Spring Forward. Always get rid of Responsibility Pie. If you enjoyed this deck profile, then it would really help me out if you left me a like. Let's supersize that blue bar. Am I right, guys? More food humor? Still nothing? Okay. Leave a comment below telling me what changes you would make to the deck and whether or not you would run this. And as always, if you found this video by accident, then subscribe to stay up to date on the latest Kudo news. Ciao!